Heads up, what I'm about to talk about might not sit right with you. You might even find yourself yelling at me through your screen.
No! God, please, no!
But hear me out. Sometimes the Etsy advice that's going around out there can do more harm than good. Yeah, they may have been effective in the past, but I think we need to ask ourselves if we're holding on to tactics that are now outdated and might even be holding our shops back. Today we're going to shake things up. We're going to kick those outdated strategies to the curb, and we're going to have a look at what we could be doing instead to thrive on Etsy. We're going to have a look at 3 outdated tips and what we should be doing instead. And just a quick note before we do dive in, what I'm about to discuss is based on my opinion and my experiences dealing with lots of different buyers and sellers on Etsy. If you agree, disagree, or have additional thoughts that you want to share, the comments section down below is waiting for you. Let's make this a dialogue. Let's start with topic number 1, and that is using deceptive pricing tactics. I see so many listings on Etsy these days that display items at crazy low prices. As an Etsy seller myself, I sometimes look at these listings and think, how on earth are they making a profit with these prices? But if you actually take a bit of a closer look, you can see what these sellers are doing. Let's take a look at an example here. Let's say I'm in the market for a new sweatshirt and I see this listing here. And I see the price is $11.98 plus. Sounds a little bit too good to be true, right? But if you dive into the different variants, you can actually see what the seller's doing here. So if I click on type and size, you can see that they have lots of different product options here. You can see that $11.98 is actually only for a small t-shirt, and to make that even better, it's actually only for the aqua colored t-shirt. As you can see here, all of the other colored t-shirts in small are all more reasonably priced at $20.99. It's only this aqua color here that is at that $11.98. So what they're basically doing is they're making one specific variant that's probably not going to be as popular at $11.98, and all of the other options and variants and product types at more reasonable costs. Now, this is a classic example of what is known as loss leader pricing. Basically, it's when a product is listed at a low price to lure customers in, but they then end up paying more for the options that they actually want. The idea behind this is that shoppers are going to be drawn into that attractive low price that they see on the listing. But once they actually go about selection, the option, the color, and the size that they want, they end up with a bit of a higher price tag. Now, it obviously works for some sellers, but I want to tell you why I'm not a fan of this method. Firstly, it's not necessarily unethical, but I think it's definitely deceitful. I personally believe in truthfulness and transparency when it comes to my Etsy store, and I'll definitely encourage you to take a similar approach. And secondly, shoppers are smart. Yes, you may have gotten someone to click on your listing, but by the time they're actually looking at the options they want and see that final price tag, they may think twice. And no one likes to be tricked. I've talked to many Etsy shoppers that actually say that they're less inclined to buy from a seller that uses these types of tactics because it just doesn't sit well with them. Will you make some additional sales by using this tactic? Maybe. Is it worth you coming across as a deceptive seller? That's up to you to decide. Instead, I personally would consider having a look at a different pricing strategy, specifically what's known as value-based pricing. This approach involves setting your prices based on how much your customers believe your product is worth. There's a common perception out there that lower priced products are of lower quality than higher priced ones. I know I think that way. When I see a $5 t-shirt at Primark, I can't help but think to myself that it's probably not as good of quality as a $30 Nike shirt, for example. This isn't to say Primark isn't great. I personally own lots of their items and love them, but it's about the value that you perceive. As an Etsy seller, you face a similar choice. Do you want to be seen as a Primark or do you want to be seen as a Nike? It's all about how you position yourself in the market and the perceived value that you create around your products. Also, not all Etsy buyers are always on the hunt for the cheapest items. Many Etsy shoppers value the story, craftsmanship, and uniqueness of an item. And by recognizing this, you can set prices that reflect what your target market is willing to pay for the special qualities your product offers. If you feel like you're learning something so far, I would love it if you could support me and click that little thumbs up below. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, why don't you go ahead and subscribe as well? And I promise, no deceptive tactics from me. Number 2 is to stop making AI art. Ever since generative AI was popularized last year, a bunch of different tools took the world by storm. ChatGPT is the obvious favorite for doing all sorts of cool stuff, closely followed by a tool called Midjourney. Now, Midjourney is an AI tool that you can use to create design, art, and images out of thin air based on a prompt that you provide to the system. So for example, I could enter the prompt, funny pink giraffe swimming in the ocean, and Midjourney will whip out some pretty impressive designs. It's definitely a really impressive tool, and I find that with every new update, Midjourney just keeps on getting better and better. The problem I see is, ever since it's hit the scene, some influencers and gurus are pitching it as a way to make a quick buck on Etsy. The idea being that you pick a product, you choose a niche, you quickly crank out some designs in Midjourney, slap them onto some POD products, and sell them on Etsy. Sounds okay on paper, but the big problem here is that there are so many people trying this right now. The market is completely oversaturated with AI art. I also think that a lot of people are taking this get-rich-quick spiel a bit too literally. Can you be successful with this? Sure. If you put the time and the effort into creating ideas and designs that are well thought out and in demand. But if you think you can just hop into Midjourney, type in a simple prompt, slap the design on a t-shirt, and then start raking in cash, I've got something to break to you. It's not going to happen. Yeah, you might make a sale here or there, but you're not going to be successful longer term. But here's my take. You should be using AI to help your business, but in a smarter way. Instead of having AI generate all these designs for you, I would recommend using these tools to help improve the efficiency of your Etsy business processes. So for example, I use ChatGPT almost every day. I use it to flesh out new design ideas and also use it to help create a baseline for my Etsy listing titles, descriptions, and tags. So helping with the SEO. I actually have another video where I talk about the different ways in which I use AI to boost my Etsy store. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. And number 3 is that branding doesn't matter apparently. This one might not be as widely discussed as the others we've spoken about, but it's being mentioned enough that it really gets under my skin. I've heard different variations of branding doesn't matter when it comes to your Etsy store. The argument usually is that shoppers are just browsing individual items, clicking on a listing, and then completing a purchase from there, without ever visiting the storefront. While I get where they're coming from, I still disagree, and here's why. Let's first understand what branding actually is, because it's not just creating a fancy logo or fancy tagline. Branding is really about your shop's overall image and the feeling that it gives to a customer. There are so many sellers and so many listings on Etsy. And in this big marketplace, having a strong brand helps you stand out as a professional and reliable seller. When customers see a well thought out brand, they're typically more inclined to feel safe and confident in the purchase that they're making. Etsy revolves around buying from small businesses and individual sellers, and a lot of shoppers actually come to Etsy specifically for that experience. So you have the opportunity to use your store and your listings to build an emotional connection with these potential buyers. Use the platform to tell your story. Express your values. What do you do? Let the customers build an emotional connection with you and your brand. Now, does this mean you now need to go out and spend thousands of dollars, euros, or pounds on marketing? No, silly pants. There are plenty of simple yet effective things that you can do to start building your brand today. You can use tools such as Canva to help in creating brand visuals such as store logos, store banners, listing photos, and a whole lot more. They also have loads of templates for you to start with. So even if you have no design experience whatsoever, you could actually jump into Canva right now today and get started building a brand. If you couldn't already tell, I'm very passionate about branding, which is why I'm actually putting together a free course specifically around creating branding for your Etsy store. I'll be walking you through step by step exactly how to build your Etsy brand from scratch. So be sure to subscribe and keep an eye out for it. And I'll also link it in the description below once it's out. Thank you so much for watching. If you feel like you learned something, I would love it if you would support me by clicking on the thumbs up button below. And if you'd like to see more content like this in the future, go ahead and subscribe while you're at it. And the learning doesn't end there. I've got some other content for you to go check out next.